also wrote both of the Wallace Ladmo plays, which may, we don't know, but they may be back on stage at the Herberger in June.
Okay, we're going to have 3 people come up and say a few words. James, would you come up here, please? James Quine from New Publishing. Not only did he put out the first book, but he put out the second one.
Sorry, Wallace, I stole your gag. I hope you weren't going to use it today. Like Steve said, there's another book in the works. I've read what's been written so far. It's really good, really funny. The fans especially are going to get a big kick out of it. There's a lot of all new pictures and a lot of good fan stuff. So be on the lookout for that mid-year or so. And to the people that got the On Mods book, sir, I have a son about the same age as yours. Don't read it to him before he goes to bed. It's deeply disturbing, some parts. But it's a good read nonetheless. So back to Steve. Thanks a lot.
I must add that James and Jeannie Kuhlman have been most wonderful to work with also. Richard Royalist, are you in the, there he comes. You may know Richard, he is a columnist for the Republic. We don't hold that against him, but Richard has some exciting news that I don't think a lot of you know about.
Is everybody writing a book?
Yes.
Like, how deep is this market? Yeah, I co-wrote the first book, and the last few years I've been working with Wallace on his biography. And you may ask yourself, well, weren't most of the events of Wallace's life captured in an overpriced coffee table book a few years ago? Well, yes and no. When I was working on that, I had to get the biographies of all 3 guys, and so I sat down with them all, and Ladmo was very forthcoming, and actually at one point he would grab like a second recorder and wanted to scream his baseball statistics into it to make sure they stuck to the tape. And was extremely forthcoming. I think after a couple hours I just excused myself to go to the bathroom because I never looked back. Wallace, though, interestingly enough, gave me this, and this was it. Half a page, and this is all Wallace wanted of his biography in the book. I don't even think there was a complete sentence on this book. Considering auctioning it off outside the lobby. But since then, he's opened up, and we've been. I'm really glad because it's a fascinating story. It's a great life this man has led, and I really hope that all of you are going to be able to share in this memory because it's a great story. And I'm glad he has opened up. I think he reached a stage in his life where he's decided to make his life an open book. Literally, he looked inside and found this motivation to share his story with all of you. That motivation is, of course, money. Selling the book to the highest bidder, and we hope to have it out by Christmas. I thank you all. Hope to see you.
And finally, I'd like to have Chris Williams come up from the Yahoo Internet Fan Club, say a few words.
Well, I'm so glad got a lot of good club members here today. I was a little worried watching your show yesterday, Pat, when that tiger watch took the bottle away from it. Well, at least it didn't want fresh ham. But I'm just so happy to be able to, bring Wallace Ladmo back in everybody's daily life on the club. It's such a great honor to be able to do it. Pat, it's so much fun for me. So much fun for all of our club members, and we just hope it goes on forever.
Now we're going to have about 20 minutes of film clips, and at the end we will have the bit which was voted by the Internet Fan Club as the single funniest Wallace and Ladmo bit. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the bit that includes more of the cast and the crew than any other bit ever filmed. Then after that we'll have a Q&A session with our guest stars, and the silent auction will close at about 4:15, and we're going to have some more autographing out after the show here in the auditorium. So sit back and relax, and we'll get this started.
To see the auction items.
Okay, wait,
We might extend it to like 4:30. We'll see how it goes in here with the Q&A. We'll make sure everybody has a chance to see it before we...
yeah, part of what we're doing today is to raise a little money for the museum. And thank you for your participation.
The money's going to be used in two ways. For product development for the store, because people are screaming for Ladmo tie t-shirts, so we're going to try and get some seed money to produce some Ladmo tie shirts. And also to further preservation of the collection. Ann Taylor and Lee Pierce from our Library and Archives division in the back there volunteered their time today to sell some photographs, and they're the ones responsible for cataloging and preserving the archival collection here. And Fireman Bob. Are there any other crew people here that showed up that did not see out any line? Is Bill Corbett here? Bill said he was going to show up? Okay. We have two handheld mics, and we're going to give this to, oh, one more. I need to mention David Reed. David, remember David from the museum, from the Arizona State Capitol Museum, the Hall of Fame Museum? My former co-worker back when ice covered the earth. Before we start, I would just like to pass the microphone down to each of them. Just have each one of them just give one funny remembrance from the show, and then I have the mic that will pass around.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. He asked me to come out here and talk about one of my funny memories of the show. And I spent the last 3 or 4 years of the show interviewing everybody and doing the first and on. And actually, my black Labrador Retriever became far more famous than I did. He was always on the show. Bill liked my dog, and he would show up. And probably the part I remember was the 35th year Christmas party. And we all just had cookies and drinks and stuff. Marshall Good comes in and he starts asking for some cookies, handouts. And of course, nobody has any cookies because we've already eaten all. And so finally he walks up to the black lab, who's sitting right beside Bill, and he says, "You got a cookie." The dog on cue belched and Marshall Good.
Was it explained that Dave did the Capitol Museum exhibit?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Does anyone remember the Arizona Hall of Fame Museum exhibit? Dave and I proposed that in 1982, and it took 6 years for it to become a reality. So, the other gang at the Capitol Museum did the exhibit at the Old Carnegie Library.
Well, I was on a show from 79 to 80, and Wallace picked me out of a group of about 30 people and said, "This is Nick Farm and Bob is one of the neatest things that ever happened to me." And I thought it was awesome. So I watched the show since 54, so as a kid. And nobody went outside when Wallace Ladmo was on. You can see kids playing any of the time when Wallace Ladmo was on.
Yeah, the house was on fire.
Yeah, the house on fire. But I think one of the funniest shows we had from Aunt Maud, Red Terry and story. And she always doing stuff about the public service, but she got Harry laughing so loud, and he starts rolling around on stage, and it was one of the most funny things I ever saw. I watched that video, like, wow, it was very funny. You ever get through this? Harry could stop laughing, but it was almost just non-stop laughing. The show was so great to do, and I just enjoyed it.
Oh, said pay the electric bill.
the director at that time made arrangements with Wallace Ladmo that he would stop at the shelter when he was going into the studio. He would pick up the pet that was going to be shown that day, and we had a kennel over there. Everybody was going to make sure everything was okay. And then our director would go and be on the show in the afternoon and do the show and promote our pets, and then he would bring the pet back. The only time I think we've ever lost a cat, though, was in Channel 5. And it took us 3 days to get the cat. Cats are not the easiest thing to take on a show, but we were so fortunate because sometimes they would have us come 2 and 3 times a week with the pet. I just asked Wallace if he had any idea how many that we probably placed over the years and years and years that we were on the show. He thinks around 5,000. I think it's probably more than that. We really, I mean, and the exposure that we got, it made people want to come out to the shelter then and adopt other animals. So and then the other thing is we can also, they gave us enough time we could give a tip now and then about what you should be doing about properly taking care of your pets, what you should do to be an RPO, a responsible pet owner. So you helped us all those years educate people to be good pet owners, and we thank you very much.